Welcome back to Trip Alpha Sports Talk. I'm Josh. That's Bryce, and that's Roy over there. Pod 25. The merch order has been put in for those who submitted merch. So I can't give you an exact time on when they'll be done, but they should be done in the near future. We're going to kick it off. We're going to start with football this week. It's going to be a little bit of weird for us, but you guys will see it just in typical fashion. We're going to start with NFL breakdowns, and we have our final four teams. Because in 2 days, for you guys, just one day, you'll see this on Wednesday. The draft for you guys is tomorrow, Thursday night. So we will be talking about the draft. You'll see that in a separate video. But one of the final four teams we have, we'll start with the Detroit Lions. Last year, they go 12-5, and they lose in the conference championship to the San Francisco 49ers. For the NFL draft Thursday, they have the 29th pick in the first round. They have a 2, a 3, a 5, 2 6s, and a 7. Excuse me. For quarterback, it was the Jared Goff show in Detroit, as it has been the last few years. 4,500 yards, 30 touchdowns, and 12 picks, of very respectable numbers. It was a two-headed monster in the backfield. David Montgomery, 1,015 yards and 13 touchdowns. And Jahmyr Gibbs, the rookie, with also a good year, 945 yards, 10 touchdowns, so also double digits. And then receiving, it was the Amon-Ra St. Brown show with the hands. 119 catches, 1,500 yards, and where's the touchdowns? 10. Sam Laporta, the rookie tight end, also had a fantastic rookie year. 889 yards and also 10 touchdowns. Outside of that, it was a little bit more quiet. They currently have $27 million in cap space left over after seeing a few people leave. Bryce, I'm going to start with you. You saw the Detroit Lions play twice last year against the Bears. So you know them. You watched them a little bit closer. What did you think of the Detroit Lions last year?
The Detroit Lions, it's pretty clear what their culture and what they want to do there is. It's run the ball and play good defense. They aren't a pass-first team, even though they have probably a top 10, at least, wide receiver in the league in Amon-Ra St. Brown. But, he's like a running back in the receiver position. The guy catches screen routes for 4 yards and turns them into 80-yard runs. He's just an animal back there. My issue with the Detroit Lions is Jared Goff. We said it all year, you get this team down and they start having to pass the ball, that's when Jared Goff starts making his mistakes. He's good whenever your run game's good and he can make the passes he needs to make in between runs, but when you got to rely on Jared Goff to bring you back into a game, it typically doesn't work out. And we saw that. I saw that personally when they played the Bears twice. Jared Goff had 6 interceptions in those 2 games, I think. One, they ended up coming back and winning, one losing. You just can't have that out of a team that's trying to win the Super Bowl like they are right now, because this is their window, in my opinion. Last year, this year, maybe next year.
How about you, Roy? What did you think of the Lions last year?
They were a really good team, and they weren't that far off from making to the Super Bowl. So, Jared Goff did make a lot of mistakes, but St. Brown was a stud, and they have a two-headed monster in a running back that that are just Gibbs and what's his name, David Montgomery. They're really good, and that helps them out. And when they start this next year, when they figure out how to get Jameson Williams the ball, that offense is going to be unreal, because when he gets the ball, he is so damn fast. It is just ridiculous.
He did only play 12 games last year.
Yeah. I believe he was suspended the first 6 games.
Yeah, and that's he doesn't. He was hurt the first. He's hurt a lot, so he hasn't been able to get that those reps with Goff. So, but once you get him and St. Brown and Goff all on the same page while they're running, and then Laporta catching the ball and with tight ends, that offense is going to be ridiculous. The thing that they need to improve on is their defense. Their defense is good, but it's not great. Other than the defensive player of the year, Aiden Hutchinson, they should have got to get another a couple defensive players up front and some back end help on the back end, because that team's got capability. They just need more studs up front to help them out, and that team's a Super Bowl team next year.
Yeah, I agree with everything you guys said for the most part.
Besides the defensive player.
Yeah, besides that was pretty crazy.
Getting pancaked by tight ends left and right.
Not even close.
This is a good team, in my opinion. I just think they're if not the best, they're very close to the best coach team in football all around. I'm not saying head coach only. Their head coach is great, but their offense coordinator, Ben Johnson, I thought was a for sure lock to be the number one head coaching candidate. Decided to stay with unfinished business in Detroit. I agree with what Bryce said. I mean, we talk about it all season. When they play with the lead or it's a close game and they can run the ball and throw the ball with it's not for sure which they're going to do. I mean, they are an unstoppable offense. But when they are down and Jared Goff has to drop back and the defense knows that, they are not as good. I think this team made strides last year to win the division based off their draft. I mean, you take Sam Laporta, Jahmyr Gibbs, and then Jake Campbell, defensive linebacker, who also played very well last year. I mean, that's 3 excellent picks. 2 first round and Laporta early second. And, I mean, you take 3 players in the top, 40 picks and hit on all 3 of them, your team is going to get better. I agree with what you said, Roy. This team just defensively needs to get a little bit better. They did lose C.J. Gardner-Johnson back on the back end, and they did add a little bit up front with DJ Reader. But they also lose a key piece on that offensive line, Jonah Jackson, one of the best guards in football. I think they need to address the defensive side and also in the guard position in the draft. But, I mean, there's not a lot to say in my opinion. I mean, this is a pretty well-coached team, and they run the ball and they play from ahead. To me, they were kind of
good culture there, too.
Exactly, and I agree. But at the end of the day, they did almost make it to the Super Bowl. But are they better than the 49ers? Probably not. And are they right now? Probably not. So I think they got some work to do, but I like all the pieces they have in Detroit. That's going to lead us into the Baltimore Ravens. Last year, they finished with 13-4 record, which was the best in football, and they lose the conference championship to the eventually Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs. In the draft Thursday, they will have the 30th pick in the first round, a second, a third, 2 fourths, a fifth, a sixth, and 2 sevenths. So they got some picks. A lot of those are comp picks in the back for losing free agents. Just like every year, it was Lamar Jackson's show in Baltimore. Offensively, on the throwing side, 3,600 yards, 24 touchdowns, 7 picks. Doesn't look great, but that's because he does half his damage on the ground. 821 rushing yards, which led the team, and 5 touchdowns. The Gus Edwards, who ended up having to take over for most of the season after J.K. Dobbins went down again with a season-ending injury. 810 yards and 13 touchdowns. And then it was a mix of Keaton Mitchell. Is that correct? Is that how you say it?
Yes.
Keaton Mitchell and Justice Hill, both around 390 yards, and both had either 2 or 3 touchdowns. So a little bit of mix in there. On the receiving side, led by rookie Zay Flowers, who had a phenomenal year, 77 catches, 858 yards, 5 touchdowns. OBJ, a shell of himself, 35 catches, 560 yards, and 3 touchdowns. And Mark Andrews with 45 catches, 544, and 6 touchdowns. And they currently have $9 million in cap space. So, Milan, I'll start it with you. What went wrong, or what went so right in the Baltimore season, and then what went so wrong late?
I definitely think just throughout the year, they got Lamar going early and just got his confidence up, and adding weapons like Zay really helped them out. Got some production, and then kind of how the Ravens always do, just tough defense. You don't have to score a lot of points to win the games, and it always helps when if you can get within 60 yards. Justin Tucker's always good for a field goal, so
True.
It's always good to get points on the board. But yeah, I think towards the end of the season, especially in the Kansas City game and championship, is where you really, from my opinion, it was more of just a bad coaching plan going into the game. I think they kept it close even with some poor mistakes on offense, but yeah. I definitely think going into next season we're looking good. We lost some key pieces on defense, but we're able to keep a few guys as well, and I think with the draft, and we should be able to make a pretty good adjustments to the roster.
Yeah, Roy, I'll let you go next, but I will talk about some of those departures because they are some big ones. Jadeveon Clowney, who had a good year last year, he goes out and goes to Carolina. They also lose that middle linebacker, Patrick Queen. I know you have Roquan Smith, so it's not as bad of a loss, but he goes to division rival Pittsburgh. But the big boy does come to town. King Henry comes into Baltimore. So, Roy, what did you think of Baltimore last season?
Lamar Jackson showed why he is the MVP. I mean, he had a great year, and I mean, he's a dynamic player that can win you ball games. I agree with Lucas that they had a bad getting to Kansas City. They had a bad game plan going in, and they made Lamar try to do too much. I think. I just feel like they didn't use their running game as much as they needed to, and that's what Baltimore. I mean, they try to run. Them and Philly do the same thing. They try to run their quarterback, in my opinion, way too much, and they need to rely on getting their running backs going. I know. I mean, Gus Edwards, and who was the other one you said besides Dobbins?
Keaton Mitchell was really the guy behind him.
They weren't. I mean, I don't think they were. I mean, those are backup guys that you throw in there to try to get you yards. But when you struggle running the game with your defense, they were right there though. They had chances to win. So I mean, this is a good team that will be good again this year. And with some additions that they got, they're going to be a very good team.
How about you, Bryce? What do you think of Baltimore?
I think that they lacked the weapons around Lamar this year. They were looking amazing at the beginning of the year. Mark Andrews goes down. Odell stops playing. You can't rely on a rookie receiver to be your number one target all the time, especially going deep into the playoffs. Zay Flowers had a great year, but I think he still has to take that next step into a 1,000-yard receiving season. Take some of those rushing yards off Lamar by throwing the ball to him. You got to get another weapon somehow in this draft. I love the pickup of Derrick Henry, though. Yeah. I mean, he's coming for a 1 year, probably get a Super Bowl, retire. I mean, the guy wants a Super Bowl. He's wasted his whole career in Tennessee with just few success there with their team there. I don't think Gus Edwards was the guy there. He's a decent second string back, but I don't see him playing 17 games and being your guy number one the whole year. So I think they definitely need a receiver to go along with Zay Flowers this year. Getting back Mark Andrews and maybe picking up a defensive edge or another interior linebacker after losing some good defensive players. But I think this team's still great for next year. I think that they have a good future plan, and as long as their draft goes well, we'll see them be just as dominant as next year if people can stay healthy.
Yeah, I agree a lot with what you said, Bryce. I thought losing Andrews down the stretch hurt them, even though it didn't really hurt them because he did come back eventually, if I'm correct, in that last game. But to me, when they haven't had a true running back in a few years because Dobbins keeps going down, and then they're on to number 2, number 3, and they're shared backfield, and Lamar's just taking too much of the load. And I just think they ran out of gas down there deep because you look at Gus Edwards, yes, the numbers are really good. He's a power back at the goal line, and that's why he had so many touchdowns. But they're not using him like they should. They don't have a running back to, from the 20 to the other 20 that they have other than Lamar Jackson. And I think it's just wear and tear on him after the year. I do agree Zay Flowers is a great target, and so is Mark Andrews. But you need that other weapon outside of just a rookie. OBJ looked like he's had a good start, but then he did really fizzle late. He didn't have too much of a success. Bateman is kind of a shell of what people thought he was going to be coming out of the draft. I just think the Derrick Henry move is such a big move. As long as he stays healthy, which he has for most of his career because he's just so big, just take some of that wear and tear off Lamar throughout the season. And I know he's old, but I just think that's such a good play. I really think defensively is where they should focus this draft. Maybe you look for a receiver, mid-late rounds. But I really think if they can hone in on that defense, Derrick Henry can give a big boost to this team to keep some wear and tear off Lamar Jackson.
Yeah.
And that takes me into –
the RPO is going to be
just
the best we've seen in a long time. I mean, just the threat of Derrick Henry taking the ball up the middle, it has to collapse everything. And then you have Lamar on the outside and Zay Flowers and Mark Andrews with 2 targets while he's rolling to the outside. I mean, it's not possible to cover that if everybody's healthy.
Now, I don't have a whole lot more to talk about Baltimore, but I do have a question for Milan since we have him on. The draft's Thursday night. This team picks at 30, so you're not probably going to get one of those superstars unless you hit, which it happens. Where do you think they should go with this first-round pick? Do you think they should take the pick, first of all? If not, do you think they should trade back? But they have enough picks, so what do you think they should do at number 30?
Yeah, definitely. I think I kind of agree with what you said, Josh. I think they're definitely going to there's some needs that they have on offense, but I think adding in some pieces on defense would be nice, so I could definitely see them going that way early. And we lost some key offensive linemen to free agency, so I could definitely see them going offensive line. Me personally, I would rather see them kind of maybe get like a flashier defensive player, like if like a if like a Cooper DeJean or like a Kool-Aid McKendry like falls down to them, I could definitely see him going with a player like that. But for the most part, I think, Ravens are pretty typical. They take the best player on the board. Then they're really good about, I believe it's like, after June 1st, when the kind of like the salary cap, you get some breaks on signing free agents. Then they're always good about signing veteran guys. I think that's when we picked up like Jadeveon Clowney and Van Noy last year, and it worked out really well for us. So I think, they always find a way to piece things together. And I really think they should keep their pick in their first round, really just take the best player available. And then with some of the later picks, really just kind of focus on some of of those weak points we talked about.
Do you guys have any questions for Milan?
Yeah,
I have one.
Go ahead. I'll go. Hey, what do you? Mine's about Derrick Henry. So you got him with Lamar Jackson. I mean, are you thinking this is going to be like he's going to get like 20 carries a game, or is it going to be kind of a RPO where he just kind of runs, or kind of option where Lamar gets more? It's going to be. What's your thoughts on what they're going to do with Derrick?
Yeah, I think that's the big question going into the season. Obviously, that was the big signing, and Derrick Henry's a powerhouse. I'm still kind of leaning towards, I think, they're still going to use like a shared backfield, especially when Keaton Mitchell gets recovered. I think, he's kind of the speedster. So I still think there'll be a mixture of some different backs in there. But it'll be definitely probably, I think Bryce mentioned, just power. Derrick Henry up the middle is really going to open up things for Lamar. So, I'm sure they'll give him his carries. I'm expecting probably around that like 15 plus carries a game. And I would definitely, for like fantasy football, I would definitely expect him to get a lot of touchdowns, a lot of carries. So,
I mean, if you think about it, like at the end of the day, you can't send one linebacker into a hole and expect him to tackle Derrick Henry by himself. So you got to send a couple people down there. And at that point, that's going to take those linebackers to draw in and give Lamar time to get outside. They've tried to do this with Gus Edwards and some of those other guys, but those people are not Derrick Henry, in my opinion. So I love the signing. I think it's a great fit because, like you said, they also have Keaton Mitchell, who is a speed guy who they can throw in there as well. So I think it's a good power, speed, and then Lamar Jackson fit. And then, Bryce, what was your question?
Yeah, mine isn't really all that serious. Just as a Bears fan, there's been 3 players that have left the team that I've shed a tear over. So I wanted to hear your opinions on Roquan Smith being a Raven.
Yeah, I mean, I always loved the signing when we got him. He's definitely been productive. It's going to be a little bit different of a dynamic this year because last year we had Queen, he's also a Pro Bowl caliber player. But I think we're just fine with Roquan Smith, and then I'm always excited to watch Ravens defense. That's kind of what made me make them become my favorite team when I was growing up. So it's always nice to have that staple middle linebacker on the team.
Yeah, he was just always one of my favorite players. So I wanted to hear your opinions on him.
The Bears didn't think much of him, so that's why they traded him. So good job.
They just couldn't afford him.
No, they didn't value him.
They didn't value him that much.
Yeah. I don't have anything else. We appreciate you coming on, Milan. We might have you on if we have another Raven segment because I don't personally know any other Ravens fans. So
I don't either.
All right, sounds great. I also heard
appreciate it.
I heard Jerry Jones today said he was all in on. So I'm looking at the Cowboys to make some moves in the draft and free agency as well. So we'll see.
Yeah, they'll probably find a way to trade back out of that first round pick. So we'll see.
All right,
we'll see. All right, see you, man.
See you. Bye.
All right, that's going to take us into the San Francisco 49ers, who were the champions of the NFC and lost to the Kansas City Chiefs in the Super Bowl. They hold the number 31 pick in the first round, followed by a 2, a 3, 3 4s, a 5, 2 6s, and a 7. And you'll see a theme of that with teams that have been good for a few years. They have a lot of back-end picks because of comp picks. Those people leaving, they get their comp picks at the back end. This was the Brock Purdy show, and this was your MVP for about 3/4 of the season before Lamar Jackson kind of came in and stole it. 4,280 yards, 31 touchdowns, 11 picks. Sam Darnold got in there for a few, but that was just crap time games. This team was led by the one-man army of Christian McCaffrey.
Who should have been the MVP?
272 carries, playing a full season other than the last game where they sat people. 1,459 yards and 14 touchdowns. And in the air, Brandon Ayuk kind of had his breakout year, 75 catches, 1,300 yards, 7 touchdowns. George Kittle, 65 for 1,006. Debo, who missed some time, 60 for 892 and 7. And Christian McCaffrey through the backfield, 67, 564, and 7. So it was kind of spread out in the receiving world. And they have $6 million left in cap space. Bryce, I'm going to start with you. The Niners had a good year, and they were a favorite for most people to win the Super Bowl, and they fall just short. What happened?
It's hard to – the Super Bowl, they played great all the way up until the Super Bowl, and I just don't think that they played to their caliber. I don't think George Kittle even showed up in the Super Bowl from what I remember. Brock Purdy he was there. Christian McCaffrey was there. I don't remember these guys playing to the level where I thought they could have played during the Super Bowl. Especially, their team was obviously the best offensive team in the entire league. Ayuk, Kittle, Debo Samuel, and Christian McCaffrey and Jennings, those being your top 6 receiving yards guys, those guys would all be number 1 receivers on half the teams in the league. So it's hard to see this team losing, but you see the guy on the other end of the field in the Super Bowl, and he's been there so many times and won so many times now that it's hard to beat a team like somebody like that. I'm not going to say the team, somebody as in Patrick Mahomes on the other side of the field.
Roy, how about you?
I mean, this is a good team, but it's based off of Christian McCaffrey. Debo Samuels is hurt all the time. Ayuk had a good year, but Brock Purdy, he's kind of like Jared Goff. He throws he'll have a great game, but then he'll look like shit in moments, and you're just like, what the hell? And I thought, they rode Christian McCaffrey all year because he's just a stud. I agree with Bryce. He should have been the MVP. He's just amazing when he gets that ball. And then when the Super Bowl, you didn't see him because they keyed on him. They made sure that he was not going to beat him, and they made Brock Purdy do something to win that ball game. And he just couldn't make plays. He's not a better than where he was drafted kind of quarterback. He's an above average quarterback, but he's not a flasher. He's going to go out there and just win you a ball game when you need it, because that's just not how he is. He's done that a couple of times, I think, in his career, but he's just not that kind of a guy. What their defense is what kind of shocked me in the Super Bowl. They played really well. Their linebacker, tears his Achilles right there on a ridiculous, and that hurt him. He was a hell of a linebacker. And that hurt him there for a while.
Yes.
So they're gonna have to. They lost some offensive linemen. They're gonna have to do some help Brock Purdy keep him upright and help McCaffrey get those lanes. And then their defense is gonna have to step. They're going to get some more guys to step up and put more pressure. They had Chase Young was, they got him, but they lose him. But they need somebody opposite Bosa to get to the quarterback.
Yeah, you talked about a little bit losing people on that D line. They lose Eric Armstead, they lose Chase Young, and they lose who didn't really play a lot, Randy Gregory. They got at the end of the deadline, so they definitely lose some pieces. But that's what happens when you pay some of those guys big money like Nick Bosa. Yeah. They're lucky they're only paying their quarterback $115 a day. Yeah. Or else they'd really be in trouble. But that's why this team is so good. You guys kind of disrespected Brock Purdy a little bit, which I don't hate. I hate the mother effer. I'm going to be honest. But I won't take away. I do think he's a little bit better than what you guys gave credit for. But to me, what I saw down the stretch, especially in the Super Bowl, Kansas City's defense, that's what got them to the Super Bowl, was their defense.
Yeah.
And to me, yes, I'm not going to say he's a system quarterback, but with all the weapons he's got, it's hard not to succeed. And he's definitely put in the time, but he's still a young quarterback, in my opinion. You're going to make those mistakes. And you have a defensive coordinator in Steve Spagnuolo for the Chiefs, who's been a head coach, a Super Bowl champion, Andy Reid. They know how to disguise that stuff. And at the end of the day, young quarterbacks are just going to make mistakes down the stretch. It's just how it works. I still think he's really good. I just wish they would have to pay this motherfucker because, God, they're paying him $20. It just pisses me off.
Well, you also got to look at, Kyle Shanahan is probably top 5 coach in NFL.
Yeah.
He does a great job, and he's got that. That's what's made Brock Purdy really well.
And I don't usually like to do this, but I'm going to say it in this case because I've seen it a few times. He was the offense coordinator for the Falcons when they blew that Super Bowl. They could not score down the stretch.
Mm-hmm.
He lost the first Super Bowl to the Chiefs because he could not score down the stretch. They lost this Super Bowl because they could not score down the stretch. It's 3 times in a row this team's made, or he's made it to the Super Bowl calling an offense, and they can't score points after halftime. And I'm not saying it's his fault because there's a lot of more things that go into it, but that's a trend. It just is. And at the end of the day, after a while, if it happens another time, it's going to get in his head. What am I doing wrong? He's going to overthink it. But I'm not taking away how good of a coach he is. I agree. But, I mean, I don't know how this team gets a whole lot better. I mean, unless they hit on some draft picks, but you've got to fill holes with the people leaving.
Yeah.
They're paying their superstars big money other than the quarterback. They're almost all locked in outside of him. They just need to fill in the gaps.
They've tried to make some trades. I mean, they tried to trade Ayuk. They've tried to make the problem is like in Ayuk's situation, I think he's willing to take a pay cut to stay at San Francisco. Yeah, it's from what I read.
See, he gives me the opposite vibes.
I'd say I felt like that's the reason why he wasn't traded, because I think he wanted to stay there. So, but I mean,
that's a weird situation.
Yeah, they're going to have to. You're going to get rid of, like, it's just kind of like this Kansas City situation where they got rid of Tyreek Hill. They're eventually going to have to get rid of one of these guys.
And
maybe one
Kittle will come to the Bears.
You're going to have to keep is McCaffrey. What?
Said maybe Kittle will come to the Bears.
I think George Kittle loves it out there.
He's a huge
definitely a guy that
fan,
would take a pay cut to stay out there.
I think he's just such a goofball. That's why he'll just go out and say he likes Chicago. I'm sure he does.
He grew up with Chicago,
but I don't think he wants to leave either.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
But
hates the Packers.
Yeah,
that's his favorite part every year is getting to eliminate the Packers.
But I mean, to me, this team is the clear-cut best team in the NFC. I just think, at the end of the day, they fall short sometimes in those big games when they're not playing the Cowboys. I don't think we have anything else for the Niners.
Nope.
Well, that's going to take us into our last team.
Super Bowl champions.
The Super Bowl champions again, back-to-back. Kansas City Chiefs. They go 11-6, and like we said, they won the Super Bowl. They'll have the number 32 pick in the first round, a 2, a 3, a 4, a 5, a 5, and a 7. So pretty chalk. Just one guy played quarterback for him, and it's a pretty damn good one. Patrick Mahomes, 4,100 yards, 27 touchdowns, 14 picks. Definitely not his best season in the NFL. Their running back, though, he was mad all the time, stomping his feet. I'll tell you what. I'm sorry, I had to say that. Isaiah Pacheco, 935 yards, 7 touchdowns. Outside of that, they didn't have much of a run game. Receiving, and again, the numbers are down receiving as well. Travis Kelce leads his team 93 yards, 984 yards, or 93 catches, 984 yards, 5 touchdowns. The rookie wide receiver, who I don't really know if we can talk about him because he's kind of a bad person now.
We definitely can talk about him.
Rashid Rice, 79 yards, 79 receptions, 938, 7 touchdowns. And then after that, it really is just ugly receiving numbers. And the Chiefs currently have $20 million left in cap space.
Yep.
Somehow. Bryce, I'll start with you.
I'm definitely going to speak on that issue because I think that's their biggest issue going forward. I mean, they didn't have a receiver the entire year, and the only one that somewhat stepped up was Rashid Rice, and there is no shot he's playing next year. I mean, the guy has several felonies and all this stuff, but then again, we have rapists and murderers playing in the league, so who knows? Might be on the team next year. This team, to me, they don't look like they play during the regular season. They know that they're going to get into the playoffs, and then that's when people step up. Travis Kelce didn't seem like he cared the entire season, and then that guy had a stellar playoff performance. He was willing that offense, him and Patrick Mahomes, through the playoffs and through the Super Bowl. Nobody else on that team in the receiving side looks like a decent receiver to me. There's not really a guy I can see that I can make a case for besides Rashid Rice, and he might not be playing. So I think that their defense is still very good, and they re-signed Chris Jones, didn't they?
Yes, they did. It's not on there because
I don't see it.
It's people coming in or leaving. But yes, Chris Jones has been signed.
Yeah. To me, I thought that was a bad move. I just think that defense is good enough that they could have went out and got a young person in that position and saved some of that cap and picked up some more pieces to build around, because I think that they're going to have a lot of holes this year. And filling that offense is going to be tough for them, in my opinion, with all the holes that they have in receivers. I mean, Patrick Mahomes can make bad people look good.
Yeah.
But he can only do that for so much.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. To me, I think Chris Jones got overpaid. Whenever someone breaks the record, usually you look at it as an overpayment. But to me, whenever you have someone like that, it can free up everyone else on the outside. Like someone who's not as good is guaranteed to get a one-on-one. You're going to win a few of them eventually. It's just how it works. I don't hate it. To me, and you talked about, they just didn't look like the Chiefs all year long. None of them did. That's why their numbers don't look good, because this is regular season numbers. But to me, the Chiefs, and this is going to sound crazy, but Bryce will understand it more than Roy, they remind me of the Battlehawks offense. They are horrible unless it is, we need to score this drive right now. Like it's a must score. They score every time. It's incredible. It's like when it's a must score, put pedal on the gas, go. They score.
I just think they have so many veterans that have played for so long now that they just don't care. That's what it seems like to me.
Well, and these Travis Kelce, I'll use an example. He's not 24 years old. He can't go 100% every single play for 17 weeks. And then, when's the last time the Chiefs played 17 games in a season? They're playing 25 or however many more. Usually it's 3. So they're playing over 20 games a season. You have to take some down plays. This team is still just as – I think they're the best coach team in football. I don't even think it's close. Andy Reid's a mastermind. I think if you just keep adding some pieces through the draft, I think they're going to be just up there again next year.
See, I have a different take. I think they had to sign Chris Jones because I think they won the Super Bowl with the offense a couple years ago. Last year, the defense carried them all year and in the playoffs and in the Super Bowl. That they spent all their money on defense last year because they were like, we got to protect. Basically, what they're doing, they're trying to protect Patrick Mahomes by hey, we'll just get we don't need stellar offensive players. We're just going to say, hey, we're going to let him make plays. And if he doesn't, our defense will stop him. That's what they did. They just went out and said, hey, we're just going to spend our money. So when they paid Chris Jones this year, they need that leader up front, that leader that's good. And that's why they spent that money on him. And that's what they've decided to do. They're just going to play defense. And they hope that Patrick Mahomes just can throw it to a nobody out there and catch it. They got Marquise Brown. I don't know if Hollywood Brown will do anything as a receiver. At least he can catch the ball. That was one thing a couple of those freaking receivers that couldn't do for Kansas City.
Most of them.
Yeah.
They at least got him. They're not going to have Rice, but Pacheco's pretty good. So, they're going to, I agree. I think Andy Reid is probably the best coach in football. He just has this, I think he learned from all those years in Philly where he kept winning, but he couldn't get to the big one. I think he learned how to win, how to take that next step. And then they came over to Kansas City, got
lucky with an all-time quarterback.
Well, he had Donovan McNabb when he was in Philly. He got him where they need to be. So, and that's what he does. Andy Reid is a great coach, and he's got
somebody is developing these quarterbacks, and Andy Reid's been in all the spots. So most people have. Yeah. You have to say it's Andy Reid developing these people.
He's doing, and that's what he does. He's a great coach. Yeah. And this year they're going to be right. They're going to add some pieces. They're probably going to try to protect up front there more on a. That offensive line looked like shit all year, and then they kind of
both penalized offensive line football by miles. Yeah.
And then they finally put it together in the playoffs a little bit.
Yeah,
so they did. They're going to try to probably reinforce that a little bit because Mahomes took some beatings a little bit this year, and they can't have that. He's getting older; they can't have doing that the year. So that's what the defense. They're focused on the defense and hoping that Patrick Mahomes can just, like you said, will them to at least the Super Bowl, and they're lucky that right now, other than the Ravens, there are some teams in the AFC, but the Ravens and not a whole lot of teams that can.
Yeah, the Bills are taking a step back, more than likely.
Hopefully, the Bengals step back up.
Yeah, hopefully the Bengals take that step back up.
You need the only way to beat Kansas City is outscore them.
Yeah,
because their defense, and that's
and
the Bengals have that capability.
They do. I agree. I don't think we have anything for football. The draft we will be doing in a separate video, so you guys will see that on our next video. I think that's just going to lead us right into baseball. You guys good with that?
Yep.
The first thing we're going to do, we're going to update on our picks, our draft picks that we have, and we have a little bit of a shakeup. In third place is still Roy. He finished This is as of Tuesday night. So this does not take into account the Monday night. This does not take into account Tuesday night games or when you guys are watching this game's going on Wednesday. Roy is in last place with 67 wins. Again, the team that's holding him down is the Marlins with 6. Yep. Every team outside of them for Roy has 11-plus wins. So he's really getting drugged down by one team. Bryce has fallen to second. He only has 70 wins. He's 3 ahead of Roy. And he's being held down on the Angels on a 4-game losing streak, and the Astros still struggling at 7 wins. And outside of those two teams, Bryce doesn't have a team below 13 wins. He's got 15, 13, 13, 13. So he's got a couple teams. I wouldn't say the Angels. They're the bottom tier team, so you're not expecting a crazy amount. It's really the Astros who are bringing Bryce down. And I've jumped all the way up to first at 79. I'm 9 ahead of Bryce and 12 ahead of Roy. I have no teams in single digits. I have 15, 15, 11, 12, 16 as a tier 3 team, and 10. The Guardians and the Phillies both swept their teams, so I got 6 wins this weekend on 2 teams. So I am currently in first place because I know ball. I mean, let's just be real.
Shit.
Then I think that'll just take us into our standings. Bryce, I'm going to let you talk over the standings for right now.
All right. In the East, we have the Orioles in first, followed by the Yankees, Blue Jays, Boston, and Tampa in the American League. And then the Central, we have Cleveland, Kansas City, Detroit, Minnesota, and probably the worst team in baseball, the Chicago White Sox, with 3 wins. In the West, we have Texas Rangers, Seattle Mariners, Oakland A's, Angels, and Houston. I mean, who thought Houston would be at the bottom and A's be at 3 right now? National League, we have the Braves in first in the East with Philly, Mets, Nationals, and Marlins following. In the Central, we've had a little bit of a shakeup recently. We have the Brewers, Cubs, Reds, Pirates fall all the way down to 4th, and Cardinals in last. And in the West, we have the Dodgers, Padres, Diamondbacks, Giants, and Rockies at the bottom with 5 wins.
Yeah. Bryce, I'll start with you. You read them. When you look at those divisions, and you might already knocked on it, what's the first thing you notice?
Obviously, the Houston Astros in last is, I mean, I don't think anybody saw that coming. I think all of us picked them as the winner for this division, if not second. And the A's and Angels being above them, to me, those are 2 of the bottom 10 teams in the league almost. And the Astros, they could have been a 100-win team this year. I mean, still might be if they get it together, but I don't think anybody expected them to be this low at this beginning of the season.
How about you, Roy? When you look at the standings, what's the first thing you notice?
I mean, how tough the AL East is. I really didn't think the AL East was going to be as tough as it was. I mean, the Yankees. I knew the Yankees would be up there, and I knew Orioles. I mean, Boston's. I mean, they got double digit. I mean, wins. I mean, their pitching staff is amazing. And I knew Toronto would be up there, but I mean, every one of them. I mean, what they got? 13 wins. Every one of them, I think, or
12. Well, on this,
12.
Everybody's got 12.
Yeah, so I mean, they
might update a little bit different.
Yeah, it's everybody right there, and that's how tough that division is. It just amazes me. And then I mean, typical. I think the AL Central and is not as good as I said. Everybody. I mean, White Sox are. I mean, they broke a record this year, right? Or broke a record, had 8 shutout losses.
8 shutouts so far
in their first month. So that's a record. And the Yankees have had 3, so let's not catch up on that. So that's different. That's what I've seen.
Okay, for mine, I have a few of them. The first one I'll say is, I mean, you talk about the Yankees' stellar start. They're already in second. I mean, every night you look at the Orioles, they have somebody going off. It's somebody new. Their whole lineup is hitting up and down, and they have good pitching. Corbin Burns, Grayson Rodriguez, Tyler Wells, who no one talks about, has got a 4 ERA, which you'll take from a 3. To me, when I think of the Yankees, they fight for every win. They fight for every win. The Orioles just breeze through. They don't struggle for any wins. They either lose by 5 or 6 or win by 10. I don't think it's close.
I mean, you can see the differential. They're plus
exactly
31 with the Yankees being plus 19.
I see the Orioles scores when I watch the Yankees. It's not close games. It really isn't. The other thing that I noticed is the Guardians record. They have the best record in baseball.
Yeah.
16-6. I know they play in a weak division. Yes, they've beaten up on bad teams, but nobody had this team as the winner of the division for us. None of us.
Mm-mm.
So I'm kind of shocked at how good they're doing, despite losing their ace and what's his face, Shane Bieber. I mean, he's out for the season.
I believe they have the largest differential in the league at 52.
Yeah. So good for them.
Yeah.
And then the other one that I've noticed is how average the NL West has been. I mean, the Dodgers, we looked at this Dodgers team as one of the best teams in baseball. And granted, I get they're not completely healthy. They're 13-11. I mean, they're lucky that no one in the division is hot yet. Like, none of them. But, I mean, the Arizona Diamondbacks are 2 games under 500 and have the best run differential in the division at plus 26. How is that even possible?
I mean, you see who just went through every team in the West. The Cubs just slaughtered all of those teams. So that's what happened to them. That's why none of them got much wins.
Yeah. 13-9. Cubs. 500 team, basically.
Yeah.
No,
Rams
are 14-9.
What's going on with the Yankees is they've gotten decent pitching. They just can't freaking hit, and I don't understand.
No,
that.
I agree. That's usually how it works in New York. It's cold up there, right? I get it.
But I mean,
it's cold in Baltimore too, though.
But we're starting to see some of those guys finally starting to square up some hits. And hopefully
I agree. That's going to take us into the players of the week, and we'll start in the NL, and we got a Philadelphia Philly this week. Trey Turner, the 30-year-old, hit .462, 12 for 26 with a homer, 4 RBIs, 5 doubles, a walk, 10 runs scored, a stolen base, and a .481 on-base percentage in 6 games last week. I mean, I don't think there's much to talk about. We know Trey Turner, how good he is when he's on.
Yeah.
Maybe not that good, but just a good week. And AL Player of the Week, what's new? Another Baltimore Oriole who's under the age of 25. 25-year-old Jordan Westberg hits .478, 11 for 23, 2 homers, 8 RBIs, 2 doubles, a triple, a walk, 5 runs scored, a stolen base, slugging .913 in 6 games last week. That's another Oriole. I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
Now, for talking points, we didn't have anything on here. Is there anything that you guys want to talk about?
I've been impressed with how Varsho, is his name from Toronto, how hot.
Oh yeah, Dalton Varsho.
He's been hitting the ball, and Travis Bernard.
Darno.
Yeah. That guy. I mean, when he was a Met, I was like, man, that dude sucks. But since he's been in Atlanta, he's actually been a pretty damn good catcher. So, they've done it. Those two have been really the 2 guys that I noticed this last week that have been pretty good.
For me, the guy I noticed last week was my boy Nico Horner. I mean,
he doesn't talk about anyone other than the Cubs. He doesn't talk about anyone other than the Cubs.
That's who I watch.
Do you know anybody else on the Cubs beside him?
No.
That's the first time I've talked about him all year. Because last week he was batting like 500 and basically willed the Cubs to all of their wins last week with his base running and his late inning singles. So, I mean, that's the only guy I really saw that stood out to me this week that we haven't talked about.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a whole lot. Mine are really a lot of the same players. I'm still in awe of how good Mike Trout is at the age. I mean, he's back to stealing bases, 5 stolen bases this season. The last 2 seasons combined, he finished with 4 for the last 2 seasons. He's got 5 already this season.
Except for the strikeout last night with the bases loaded to lose the game.
Yeah, he can't hit 1,000.
I mean, if you're talking about he's playing at the best he's ever played, and one of the best players.
I didn't say he's playing the best he's ever played.
The guy's got a chance to bring his team back, and he just doesn't. He's not a big time player.
It's hard to do that when your team can't win 50 games a year.
Yeah, his team's not very good.
I mean, they had the 2 greatest baseball players of our generation, and they can't make the playoffs. Let's tell you how bad the rest of the roster is.
He's not.
And now the other one left. Can't blame the guy. I don't really
have
that
any good, and you have the bases loaded in the bottom of the 9th. I mean, you got to hit the ball.
Yeah.
Not too many players in the baseball would hit that ball, make that hit.
I don't have a whole lot else, honestly, for baseball.
Nope. Oh, yeah.
All right. I forgot about that. That's going to take us into our miscellaneous category. Josh's log, Bryce's game, and Roy's old man wisdom. And I'm not going to lie. You can ask Bryce and Roy. I've been on a heater the last week. Unfortunately, the Phillies are not playing the White Sox, and the Guardians are not playing the Athletics anymore. So I can't tell you those are my locks. But I will give you a lock. I believe last week I lost my lock. I got to make sure I get to Wednesday.
I would just tell you don't bet on the Yankees. I mean, those guys are just they're edging out their wins by what seems
I don't know.
like
I bet
half
on them
a run
tonight and
sometimes.
won money on them to win.
I thought you just said you lost money on it right before it started.
That was the
don't know
individual
these.
game, the individual ones.
I'm
won them
going to
on
do
the-
Dodgers minus 1.5 over the Nats.
Really?
And Orioles minus 1.5 over the Angels for Wednesday. I'll bet $25. It pays $104. That's my lock of the week.
All right.
All right, I've got my game. There's no way you guys get this one, so I'll give you.
He says that every week.
If
He
you
doesn't
guys-
make even. I mean, he's probably going to be someone from 1844.
No. Since the NBA playoffs have started, and we didn't even cover it at all, this is an NBA one.
There's a reason why.
I thought there was some stuff to cover, but that's just me. This is going to be 11 people, and it is all stars in the NBA who have also won March Madness.
Okay.
All stars.
So they won the NCAA
NBA All
tournament?
Stars who also won the NCAA tournament.
I can name one off
You
the
say,
top.
oh, wait, hold on. So they won an NBA championship and a
No,
college championship?
all-star.
Or just an all-star?
All-star in the NBA who won March Madness.
Okay.
I can name one, Jalen Brunson.
Jalen Brunson has won.
Carmelo Anthony.
I don't even know if did he win a natty?
I don't think he won a natty at Syracuse.
Yep. He won his freshman year, the only year he was in there.
All right, he's not on the list.
Michael Jordan.
Michael Jordan has won.
Yeah.
I'm going to look up that Carmelo Anthony one.
Bill Walton.
He
He won a national title in
I do know that he won one.
And
was he an
UCLA?
All-Star,
He
though?
was an all-star.
Did they even have the All-Star game then?
Oh, that's true. Did they have All-Star games back then?
Hell,
Because
I
he's
don't
not
know.
on my list either.
Yeah, that one he definitely would have been technically.
So we're just talking about All-Star game.
Like,
Guys who have been selected
I-
for the All-Star game.
I know, but I think that All-Star game's been going since like the 70s, but I don't know. And okay,
I mean,
Magic
you name
Johnson.
two guys that aren't on my list. Magic Johnson
Magic
is one.
Johnson. Okay. Who won a national title and was an all-star.
Anthony Davis.
Yep.
If Anthony Davis is on your list, I don't know what to tell you.
This must, I mean,
Because I know he won the Natty, Kentucky, and he's been an All-Star.
I don't have him on there either. And yeah, I just looked at the comments of this, and they're saying Carmelo, AD,
Yeah.
and Bill Walton.
Well,
Just fuck the game, I guess.
yeah.
I mean, the list I found is this must be wrong.
Well, I know that Anthony Davis is wrong.
I mean, how many
because-
players do you have on there?
11.
Name the 11.
Jordan, Kimba, Magic.
Oh, Kemba. I don't know if
I wouldn't have got
remember that
Kemba.
one.
'Cause I would never.
I don't think I would have pulled out. If someone said UConn, I would have got
James Worthy,
No,
Isaiah Thomas,
not pulling that.
I would have got Isaiah Thomas.
Kareem, Jalen
Scott-
Brunson. What you got?
Yep.
See Larry Johnson. See on there.
Danny Manning. I don't know who that is.
One in
Joakim Noah.
UNLV.
Oh, yeah. I should have known that. Back-to-back in Florida.
Mario
Let's see this.
Chalmers.
Al Horford.
Also, back-to-back in Florida.
And I think it's Christian Leitner.
Oh.
He made
I
an
didn't know he
All-Star
was-
game.
I didn't know he
guess.
made an All-Star game.
I didn't. I know he won.
Maybe not. That list is
Yeah, that's true. Maybe it's
trash.
I mean, I could name a couple more that that weren't on there. So,
Okay, Roy, old man wisdom.
all right, I got players. You got to guess where they're baseball players, older players. Since I was told that people like listening to you guys try to guess these things.
Really? I hate
No.
this shit.
I know, but I had a couple people tell me they love.
What's
I feel
wrong?
like I've gotten more.
What is wrong with today's players? I don't get it.
I feel like
These
I've
are
gotten
older
more of these
players.
old players than you.
All right, I got three
I
of them
don't
for
like
you.
old players. They're not
The
real.
first one. All right, the first one. He played from 1986 to 1995. All right,
Wasn't even a thought yet.
I know. So he
Guy
played.
basically
for the
doesn't
Padres.
exist.
My dad was like,
I know you know who
15.
this is. I know
Okay,
you know
let's
who
hear
this
it.
is. So he played for the Padres, the Phillies, and the White Sox. And he was a first baseman. I'll give you that.
Padres,
I'll give you a hint on that.
Phillies.
And the only White Sox I know from the.
No, it's not him. You're gonna say Frank Thomas, isn't it?
I mean, I don't think he played anywhere else.
I don't know if I mean, I'm sure I'll know it, but this is not Padres. Can you say the years again?
He played for San Diego from 1986 to 1989. Played for the Phillies from 1989 to 1994, and he only played for the White Sox for 1 year, 1995.
Jeez.
So he's a Philly.
So he was a Philly player.
I mean, I don't know. I don't even have I'm not close.
Did I guess, Bryce?
I don't have a guess either. I mean,
I can throw a name out there. I know it's not right.
Who?
Tony Gwynn.
I was gonna say Tony Gwynn's
I know
an outfielder.
he didn't leave the Padres,
Yeah.
really.
It was
so.
John Kruk.
I have never heard that name in my life.
He was the ESPN announcer for a while. Baseball announcer.
I mean, I'm sure I know. I don't.
I have
know.
like 4 of his cards.
I don't know who that is.
John Kruk.
I have his cards.
That
from
guy
that
has
year.
never been in MLB The Show.
All right, this one
He has.
probably not. He got.
I
he's the
think
one-
he is.
I'm sure
Boy.
you saw the strikeout from Randy Johnson in the All-Star game on John Kruk.
I don't know.
What, where he fell down? Is that what it is?
Yeah,
We
we
were-
got through his head and struck out and just
Yeah.
watched it.
We were talking over drill Bryce, and Roy goes, "If I have to hear fucking MLB The Show shit anymore about these players,
you guys
he gets-
fucking.
I'm pretty sure Crook was in the show.
All right, see if you get this one.
Yeah.
He's only played for 2 teams. All right,
good."
the Phillies and the Cubs from 1981 to 1997.
Ooh, that's a long time.
He's most known for being a Cub.
Great. And I'm gonna miss it.
Sammy Sosa ever played for the?
He played for the White Sox.
What team did you say? Phillies.
Phillies and
Oh.
Cubs.
He was a White Sox.
Yeah, I was thinking White Sox in my head. I'm like, Phillies and Cubs. Can I get a position?
That would probably give it away. I'll say he was a
Pitcher,
manager.
catcher.
He came back and be a manager for the Phillies. During your lifetime, 2013 to 2015.
I don't think it's the guy. I mean, that's before Joe Girardi.
I'll give you. He was an infielder. That's all I'll give you.
No.
What year did you say?
Is it Ryan
From
Sandberg?
I don't want to
1981
guess that.
to 1997.
Ryan
I feel
Sandberg
like he's
is not-
older than
I
that.
would know if he managed the Phillies. It can't be.
Who?
Ryan Sandberg.
You are correct, Ryan Sandberg.
Really?
I did not know he was a Philly.
I didn't know he managed the Phillies.
I had a feeling that's who you'd pick.
Well,
He's been in the news lately for the statue.
That was the only person I could think of. Like,
Yeah.
at all.
I
I didn't think he'd manage the Phillies.
Married
Wow.
the Phillies.
I feel like
All
I
right,
should have known that.
The last one I got. This is during your lifetime. All right, so
Thank
from
God.
2012 to 2022,
Oh yeah, now we're talking.
he played for the Reds, the Diamondbacks, the Yankees, and the Phillies.
Fuck. I don't like that path at all. Say that again. Reds.
The Reds,
Okay.
the Diamondbacks, the Yankees, Phillies.
I got it.
I
And
won't know
what
it
was-
unless
say
I
the
have
years
a
again.
position.
I know who it is, but say the years.
2012 to 2022.
Yeah.
I'm sure Josh knows it, but can I get a position? Because I won't get it without.
Can I say the position?
Shortstop.
Yeah. Okay, I'm good. Bryce,
I don't think I'm going to get
he
this.
was off the Yankees before.
We talked about him on
Yes.
Saturday.
This
when
is
we did
one
our
of my
thing.
favorite Yankees for a while. I think it was before me and you met, though, so you won't have known very much. He's got some unbelievable home runs for the Yankees when they would play the Astros in like 18, 19, 20, and they beat us every time. He would have some big boy home runs.
I don't know. I don't know who it is.
Can I say it?
Yeah.
My boy Didi Gregorius.
Yep.
I wasn't pulling DD out of my ass.
I love Didi. Loved
You
him.
got 2 of them.
Yeah. See what happens when you come into the 2000s? It's crazy.
Well, hell, you couldn't get John Kruk. You barely
I
got
don't
Ryan
even know
Sandberg.
who that is.
I
Yeah.
have probably 6 of his cards over there.
Well, we were going to get Ryan Sandberg because that's the only guess we had.
Yeah.
So, even though we didn't think it was right.
I'm going to go with a Cub that you guys maybe not know next time.
Okay, I think that's going to do it for Pod 25. Again, the merch order is in, so the merch will get out as soon as we get it. Make sure you hit the like button, subscribe, comment, and share with your friends. The NFL draft the recap will be next week. So that'll be a really good one. We'll be able to go over maybe some brand new Chicago Bears, maybe J.J. McCarthy.
If J.J. McCarthy's a Chicago Bear, I won't be a Bears fan.
He will not be a Chicago Bear.
But we appreciate
Ryan Poles actually said today that he knows who he's taking, but he's not saying it.
Yeah, so does everybody on the fucking planet.
There is Caleb Williams.
Yeah, subscribe, comment. Peace out.
Peace.
Gotta find my way to